You are now listening to the District 2 Sports Podcast, available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. It costs you nothing to smash that like button. Leave us a review and follow District 2 Sports on Facebook, X, and Instagram for more content and coverage. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
All right, so District 2 Sports Podcast, and today we're heading to Newcastle, Virginia, home of the Craig County Rockets. Head coach Jimmy Fisher, a Craig County native, has helped breathe new life into the Rockets program. Coach, you guys go 9-1 this year. You're the 2 seed in Region C. Congratulations on a great year so far, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here, and we've had a good season. We're excited about it. It doesn't happen around here too often.
Well, I was kind of struggling to see what my first question is going to be. I mean, there's so many different directions I could take it. Why you took the job in general, but I kind of start with the season so far. So you guys, like I said, go 9-1, and your 9 wins. I think you guys outscored your opponents 390-48. I think before the season started, you had said a quote. The cupboard was loaded. So did you know this was going to happen? Did you see that 9-1 season?
We thought if we stayed injury free, which we're not, we got some guys dinged up right now, but we thought we could be competitive in all 10 games. So,
are you guys ahead of time? We
kind of saw it coming.
Are you ahead of time, or are you on track?
We're on track. We're on track. When I first got here, there wasn't a weight room. That's the biggest thing for high school football. So we had to build our own. So,
I say, how important was starting off the season? 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, and kind of moving along the season as it goes. Credit years past.
Yeah, for here, wins are precious. Some years you're happy to get one, but we thought those first few games, the Montcalm game, they had beat us last year at their place. It's different up there. They get to pick their own referees. So some of I've never complained about referees. The only game that's like that wasn't fair, but we had marked that one on the calendar. So and we came out and played really well. Bland, I love Bland. It's a great place. They've been down a little bit. We thought we could get that one. Mountain View was a new team that we didn't know much about. I was kind of hesitant because years ago I had a buddy who coached up Shady Spring, and Mountain View was really good. And then we played Twin Springs. That was a game that I was hesitant to schedule because they're traditionally fairly decent. I'm trying to play teams our size, and they're our size. So, well, if they're better, we just got to work harder. So, we went ahead and scheduled them, and we had trouble stopping them. They had trouble stopping us. It came down to the last possession. They ran out of time. Then I think it was Stonewall Jackson or somebody, up out of the Shenandoah. They struggle. They've got numbers in the school, but struggle to find football players. And then, then we got into the district and stuff, and those are always tougher for us. But we did okay.
When you're beating teams, 54-0, 56-8, 56-0, etc. How important is that game against Twin Springs to win that 35-28 and have a team that's going back and forth with you and getting that win?
It was big to build that confidence. Normally in Craig, let's say they haven't traditionally done well. Team gets up on you, and you kind of lay down a little bit. Oh, here it comes again, and we kind of did that a little bit. We got down for a second, and I'm like, "What are y'all down for?" It's going to happen. I told you it was going to happen. You got to overcome the adversity, but there was a penalty on the sideline that kind of got our guys jacked back up. So, it worked out. Penalty was against us, but it worked in our favor. So,
and then you guys play a familiar foe in your first round game there in Bath County. You guys beat them 28-0 in the regular season. How do you keep your guys focused, first thing, and not look forward to a potential rematch from last year's playoff team with Grayson County in the semifinal?
Well, I mean, Bath, of course, I think we have our worst record against Bath, and we used that all week and prep for Bath. I think we had won 4 games in 54 years of football or something. So, it's gonna be tough to get them twice. I coached with Jacob. He was my head coach for 1 year at James River, and he always has them prepared. They always fight from the kickoff to the final horn. They never quit. So no matter what the score is, and it was 28-0, but it was closer than that. They had a touchdown called back on a kickoff, and it was an obvious block in the back, but it was 30 yards behind the play. but it got called, and that took some points off the board. And they put the ball on the ground a couple of times, so it's going to be a dogfight Friday.
Coach, I got about a 3-part question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. If you're not finished,
I was just going to say about Grayson. You know, they're to me. I mean, Giles is number one in the region. You know, we tied in points, but they had the tiebreaker. They beat Nares. We lost to them. But Grayson's still the big dog in my opinion. They're so physical. They're so physical. So you know, it's going to be a challenge. If we're able to get there, or Bath, both of us are going to have a challenge. You know, with those lines of Grayson.
Coach, when you get to the World Series of Poker on ESPN, I'm behind you 100%. Okay,
I got you.
I think you are a fabulous poker player right now. Okay, so look, I'm gonna go back a little ways. Does Bath County, or do you kind of take it maybe as a slap in the face, just a hair, with you guys finishing 9-1? And I know standings are standings. I get that. I know, but you've got a 5-5 team that finishes in first place in your district, and you finish second because you go 3-1 and lose to them head to head. But is that kind of a slap in your face to you guys? Is that bulletin board materials? I mean, does that go pinned up on somebody's locker during the playoffs?
I don't know that it does. Like I said, we had our chances. You know, our star got hurt fourth quarter against Bath, or you know, we might be 10-0 and they might be 4-6. But, you know, their star was hurt. One of their stars was hurt half the year, their quarterback. And, you know, look, Tucker's a dude, you know, yeah, he's a great player. And he hurt us with his legs and his arm. But, you know, the plumbing issue, like I said, we didn't get to, you know, some things you do just one day a week. You know, we didn't get to practice Thursday. You know, school was let out early. There was no plumbing. They made us go home. And then Friday, there was no school. And instead of kids getting on a routine and getting pumped up for the game as the day goes on, they're laying around all day and come out flat. And you can't come up flat for a district title game. So, you know, with either one of those things didn't happen, I think, you know, we would have had a chance. You know, it was 28-21. It was 4th and 1. And we normally run one play, and I didn't run it because that's the kid that's hurt. You know, he's trying to play, but I didn't know if he could get it. So I ran a different play, and we allowed penetration, and they stopped us. Or, you know, I think we go down and maybe tie it up. And I'd already had a 2-point play in my mind. I was going to go for 2. So, but it didn't work out that way. But no, I don't think there's any bulletin board material for that. You know, Bath still motivates us because the record's so dismal for all these years. And I'm sure that their kids have heard, in 55 years, we've only lost 5, and you're one of them, you know. And here you have a chance to right that wrong. So they've got a lot of bulletin board materials. I don't know that we have a whole lot this week. So,
Coach, what's been the recipe for success for you guys? I mean, I think you took over a team that's won 9 games in 7 seasons, and then you guys, I think, go 2-2 first couple of years, and then you hit 6 last year. So, how do you see that steadily increase from those win totals from the past to now?
Some steadiness in the program, and you know, we just push blue collar work ethic. You know, we can't help that they've got more kids than us, and they might have better resources than us or better talent, but we can help if they're outworking us. So our goal is just to make sure that we don't get outworked. You know, we've been able to, you know, lift in the mornings before school at like 6:30 in the morning, and we'll have 30 some guys there, you know, consistently. So they've worked hard. So. And we're still out talented sometimes, you know, some of the speed and some of the skill stuff. Now, if you want to play football in a phone booth, that's us. So, but when you spread us out, that's kind of our Achilles heel. And I can say that because everybody knows it. So,
I like that. Well, I mean, talk a little bit more about taking over a program from a smaller school. I mean, you guys, I think, only have like 212 students, but that's total students. I mean, as far as the guys, I'm maybe sure that's maybe 50% less, or maybe 100
yeah,
kids.
That's probably counting 8th grade. I think this year, 9 through 12, you know, kids eligible for varsity football. I think there's 150 kids in the school, 148, 152, somewhere in that range. So, you know, we've got 30 some of those out. So, you know, we've got 40+% of the boys out for football. Awesome. It's like basketball starts tonight, and they're gonna have like 5 kids, JV and varsity combined, because they're all playing football.
Golly. So I mean, when the season starts, I mean, or I guess before the season starts, are you out there, you know, in the front of the school recruiting, kind of get these kids, hey, come out and try?
We recruit every day of school all year long. So, you know, a lot of peer recruiting. And then, you know, they see the kids, you know, the bodies have changed, you know, the football players, you know, put on some good weight, and we have some, some good looking kids walking the halls, and they look and say, hey, I might want to look like that, to get in the weight room. Some of them have some talent, some of them don't, but as long as they come in there and work, I'm okay with it. So,
all right, Coach, my boys call me Max Prep Greg for a reason. So, I don't know if that's a compliment, Big Greg. Yeah, I know that I find myself in some peculiar situations every once in a while, but I have to have something to use as a guide in some kind of way with if I'm not going to be there on Friday night or whatever. But listen, I guess the question is, we're talking here about a spectacular year in the process, still going. So has it been any kind of situation where you've had to maybe pull some kids out of the clouds a little bit? I mean, I'm sitting here looking, right now, you're in the top 15 in the state in 1A. You're in the top 30 in the Roanoke Rakins. You're in the top 100 basically in the Virginia State. Or has it been a situation where, hey, these kids need to enjoy themselves. Let them read this stuff and enjoy what they're doing.
They keep floating off like a balloon. We got to pull them back down and say, hey, this is still Craig County, and you got to focus. You don't believe all that stuff. The paper says they're real good, and we tell them they're no good. So, we're just trying to keep them grounded. And I think a little bit like that Narrows game, they just thought they couldn't lose it. So Narrows thought otherwise. Narrows is busting their tail, 11 hats to the ball. We had guys jogging, which is not what we've done all year. So.
How important is that that game last year, just making it to the playoffs in general and playing against Grayson County? I know you didn't win it, but how important is that experience for this year?
It was a big deal. I thought, if we could make that would set the tone for this year, and it has. So hey, we want to do that again. We want to do better. We want to go deeper. And I look towards next year. We lose two guys off of defense. And, we lose Calfee, of course, and we lose the Jerry Smith kid, 2,000-yard rushers. But we got some, good JV backs coming up. And the Paxton kid, he ran for 322 yards last week in the rain at Meadowbridge. And, he's back. So, we've got some talent coming back. And I think we could maybe, if we can find somebody who can throw. I was talking to Steve Wilson, the AD and offensive coordinator at Giles. He's like, it's always like this. You either got a guy that can throw and no receivers, or you got receivers and nobody that can throw. Now, he said they're blessed this year. They have both. And we have all these guys. We have some phenomenal receivers, but we can't give them football. I've got a kid, 11 catches, 8 of them are touchdowns, 25 yards a catch. And we've missed him wide open 25, 30 times.
You've been there for a few seasons now. I mean, how have you seen the community kind of build up towards this team and seeing the win streak or the wins kind of increase each year? Has there been more fans in the stands or more just community involvement?
Yeah. I mean, I can't go anywhere in town without, if I go to the grocery store to grab one thing, it's going to be a 30-minute trip because I've got to talk football, which is fine. I get it. I was here back in the early 2000s. Of course, I'm from here. I coached some rec and then moved up to JV and then varsity. Then I went to I was at North Cross, William Fleming, James River, Glen. I've been around. And, so we were successful the last time I was here. I'd kind of brought those kids up, from like Little League because, that was my son's class, and we won a district title, but we lost to Narrows that year too. They were in the Mountain Empire then. So that kind of sticks in my craw. So we had the chance this year to right that. Wasn't wrong. They were just really good then too. But it's different here, but the community's been super supportive. And like I say, when I first took over, there was enough equipment to have football. We had to borrow equipment from 5 different schools. So, and I remember one kid being in there, and he's an aspiring coach himself, and he came in while we were doing this inventory, and I was like, oh, we got to get uniforms. He laughed. He said, do you think we're going to get uniforms here? And I was like, I guarantee we are. And we did, but it was like week 7. We wore 5 different white jerseys on away games and 4 different blue jerseys at home because the coaches had not taken up the stuff over the years, and there wasn't a complete set. And we had gotten a bunch of kids out. That first year, we went 3-7. COVID cost us 1 game. We were getting ready to get on the bus, and they quarantined like 8 of our defensive starters. Now, 2 of them showed up at halftime. They went and got tested real quick, but that cost us a game. That was a Bath game, by the way. And then the first game of the year, we rolled for like 300 yards of offense and scored 6 points. We lost 8-6. So to Bland, but so that was probably a 5-5 team. Then it kind of all those guys graduated, and that could have been a fantastic team. They were loaded, but the COVID, come in, even the running backs got a belly, everybody's laying around. So they weren't in shape and didn't know a lot of football at the time. So, but, we've hung in there. We've raised a lot of money and, done some nice things. The kids, we get the best, I think it was, maybe it's not Newt Rockney, but one of those old coaches said when it comes to equipment, buy the best. So that's what we've tried to do. So we've got, we've probably got more sleds and pads than any 1A team in the state. We got a new Bermuda field, pop-up sprinklers. We, my buddies over at Glenver, they got turf now. They got turf sleds. They give us their old sleds, and we had them worked on by some local welders and fixed up and new pads. And, we're all set in that field. And we spent $60,000 in the weight room from scratch. And, we've just, I think we raised a little $203,000 in the first 4 years I was here to put in the football program.
All right, Coach, I'm pinning you down. Texas Hold'em right here, okay?
All right.
I lost count. I took off my shoes, my gloves. I was getting down to the skivvies here.
I don't know what else. I want to know what else you took off. So
I was getting to this. I quit at 400. So you're over 400 and some odd points on the offensive side this year, and only 69 points on defensive given up. What's the secret on both sides?
Hard work. It really is hard work. The kids have bought in. You have a great assistant, Jake Dowdy, Giles guy. That's where I had to run the single wing before with Rod Tenney. When Rod Tenney was here in Craig, Rod won a state title at Bath County with Steve Isaacs running the single wing. And so I was familiar with it some, and we put it in a package last year. The kids loved it. And I was like, well, they're going to want to throw it. We were running this gun T stuff, and they didn't care. We jump in that little 4 or 5 play package and just gut people. And we just decided that's going to be our identity this year. So we're bought in. I don't think I ever want to run anything else again. I love it. But it's mostly been hard work and effort on the line. There's most of our linemen, are juniors. We have one senior and one sophomore, but they've started since they were freshmen. So they have taken some serious lumps. They've been on the receiving end, some of them 40 and 50 to nothing. And, we talked about how good it would feel to give some of those out. So, they went out there kind of fired up, and we've got some good backs with, we don't have a blazing speed guy, but we have some, some quick guys. And, the Calfee kid's pretty fast. He's been dinged up the last 2 weeks. We'll see what he can do Friday. But, it's just been hard work. And, the kids, I've got some kids who watch more films than most of the coaches. They'll say, he said, they'll see a pass and they're like, I'm going to pick that this week. And then they go do it. So.
Well, let me ask you another question. I know this is gloom and doom Greg now, so I'll ask anyway. So we've kept up with you guys all year, and, we have a super top 10 poll that we bring out, and God, we want to put you in there so bad sometimes. And listen, the only thing that really holds us back, and I'm getting to that question. So we noticed that strength of schedule, which I know you guys do not have a whole lot of control over, is sitting at like minus 21 point something right now. In the future, if you had to, or if you could change things, are you going to be able to, pick and choose games that you want to go and play from here on with your success this year, such as stepping up maybe a class or 2 classes up? Gregory, I mention this all the time. We talked to Coach Deloach over at Alta Vista, and a schedule together. So he's having to go up 2 or 3 classes to play. So just kind of curious. And he made mention, hey, the regular season is important, but getting my guys ready for the playoffs is what we're shooting for a state title. So I know that's a roundabout question, just kind of getting your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For us, you look at that, the Graysons and the George Wist and the Giles, when I was here the first time, they were all up. They were all, 2A and stuff. And and they're like us. We're all hemorrhaging enrollment. Craig was 650 kids in 2015, K through 12, and now it's less than 450. So there's just no kids. So we trying to play teams our own size or 200 or less. Because when we play a George Wythe or a Giles, they're 2.5 times our size already. But I've been talking to, a couple other coaches, a couple other places, some bigger schools about maybe getting on the schedule, but we don't want we want to make sure that we're playing some teams our own size. But, you know, I see that as an Arrows advantage in that game as they played such a tough schedule. I mean, if, you know, they were one blown play away from beating Floyd County that first game, then their quarterback got hurt. So they end up losing the next 4 and they come back and they were 4-1, lost a tight game to Honaker. That could be an undefeated football team. You know, their 3 skill guys they're really good. The Tucker Carlson, the Helvey, and the Knutes. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I apologize to him, but I can't ever get it right. But yeah, we're considering that, looking at some other schools and playing. Maybe not in our region, maybe playing some Region D schools or something like that. So,
Coach, we talked about this a little bit offline. What possessed you to take over a team that was 9-61 in the last 7 seasons before you got there?
It was home. You know, when my wife thought I was getting out of football, so I ain't gonna lie. When she found out that coach quit, she was already mad. So I turned it down 2 or 3 times, but you know, I prayed about it, and you know, I just felt led to do it. And you know, it was like that first year because we didn't have any equipment, so they threw about $15,000 in athletics, so we could spend it. We spent about 12, and we raised about 23. But with COVID, we couldn't get helmets, so we didn't have enough helmets. Stanton River, one of the teams that helped us out, they had a bunch of helmets. You know, we had white helmets with blue face mask at the time. They had white helmets and black face masks, so we ended up with white helmets with blue and black face masks. They had a bunch of helmets that were year 10. They were going out. They were going to be trashed the next year anyway. So after they passed out all their stuff, they gave us 30-some helmets, and that saved our season. But, you know, so we were able to do that, and I'm getting on the God thing here. We the next year, they'd said they would help with helmets, and then when the year come around, they said they didn't have the money. And I'm like, well, I can't raise this and the other stuff I've committed to. I told my wife, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to give it up. I'm not going to go through all this. She said, I need to pray about it. So I did, and Lord said, take it. And then we did a fundraiser, and we got a grant. We needed $35,000 was my estimate. And we had $16,000 on the online platform and $16,000 in paper checks and a $5,000 grant. So in less than 30 days, we had $37,000. So God knew we had inflation, and He covered the whole thing. Then we went on to raise, I think we raised over 60 grand that year. So yeah, He's blessed it all the way. So.
Wow, no, that's a powerful story to hear, Coach. You mentioned kind of being in different spots throughout the way, like around the Roanoke region. What did you take from the North Cross or the Glenvers from I can't think of Coach's name there, also Clifford? What did you take from them and kind of mold that into your own system there at Craig County?
You know, like I said, I'm a Craig County boy, and I started here doing some rec and moved up to the JV, and with Rod Tenney as head coach and Neil Swanson, who's one of the best track coaches in the Valley at Glenver. He's at home now, but he was over here. I took a year off sort of to go back to school to get my teaching degree and end up coaching, being a varsity defensive coordinator on a district championship team to coaching 9-10-year-olds. That was a culture shock. But then my son transferred to North Cross, and at first I wasn't going to coach, but one of their guys didn't come with them. And I got to learn from John Hinkle. You know, he was Salem's defensive back coach for all them years at North Cross. He's kind of been my mentor until he passed away there a couple of years ago. Fred Wagner, who was the best offensive line coach in the Valley. I got to learn some stuff. I got to learn how Salem played their 5-3 defensive line. And, everywhere I've gone, I've taken those principles with me. So that was a big boost. From there, we went to Fleming, Fleming, we had Hinkle and Johnson and some of those Fleming guys. Don Holter was there. I can't remember Coach Gray's first name. He had coached the PH head coach, but all those guys were there. So, I was able to pick up some stuff there. Then I went to James River with Philip King and Jacob Phillips. And then I went to Glenver, and then Clifford's the hardest working coach I've met. They work hard, and that's Glenver. I mean, you see all that ball flying in the air and all them running backs running. You think, the system, it's the most simple system I've been at. They just eat that weight room and just muscle you around. So that's kind of that's what we got to do, because we don't have all those cats. And, so we were just going to get in the weight room and try and get the most out of every kid. So, we're building them. But they're not coming in. Craig County's not a athletic mecca for anybody to come to. But so that's kind of our approach to how we're doing things.
Coach, I'm a firm believer in the right places, and I truly feel like you're in the exact place that you need to be in. The second thing I wanted to add is, or ask you is, you know, a lot of teams take characteristics or traits from their coaches or their head coach. What is something or some things that you would hope that your kids would take away from you?
You know, I'm kind to everybody. I mean, the kids talk about it at school. You know, I say good morning to everybody that walks by my classroom, ask them how they're doing, and I sincerely care. I think they see that. I think they see how I treat people, that I genuinely care about people, and that's kind of things that, you know, I want to have kinder humans. You know, I said something in the paper that first year. I want to make not just better football players, but better students, better sons, you know, better dads, you know, and so on. That's what it's all about. It's 1A football. You know, nobody's, I won't say nobody because some people do, but, you know, nobody's going to make a living at it someday. You know, they're not going to the NFL most likely. So, you know, the best thing about getting out of it is to learn how to face adversity and overcome it. You don't always win, but you can still learn lessons in it. So that's kind of what we're trying to instill. And I hear little things I say come out of the kid's mouth sometime. So then Coach Dowdy, my Giles guy, you know, he's my right-hand man. I consider him a co-head coach. And, you know, I see some of his stuff coming out of the kids too. So it's good.
Coach, talking about the offensive side, you know, I guess nowadays you kind of see kind of different styles. You see like the spread offense, get the ball out in space, or we may see some more deception option like wing T, single T, whatever it might be. You know, as far as your offensive philosophy, do you base it around something you want to run, or are you basing it off the guys that you have there who can maybe run a spread or whatever it might be?
When I first took the job, of course, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't going to coach again. I hadn't coached in 2 years, so I had to run what I knew, which was the double wing and the Salem 5-3 defense. Then we kind of morphed into like an open wing. Then we kind of went to the gun T, which is kind of the same thing, but just a different terminology. And that's what we ran for a couple of years. And then we kind of, you know, we had that Giles package. And I remember I lived up on the upper end of 42 close to Giles. So before I got really big into coaching, my kids wore Future Spartan T-shirts. That's where they were probably going to school until we moved further down the mountain. But that single wing, I mean, it's special. It's not really based on what the kids do. It's plug and play. You know, you're going to find something there that you can do. And you're going to use that misdirection, and hopefully you're going to have some powerful guys and somebody that can pop one, and that's what we've done. I think we ran that one trap play. The Paxton kid had 29 carries, and that play was 20 or 21 times. He just kept popping it. They couldn't figure it out. They put more guys on the line of scrimmage, and we're not blocking those guys on the line of scrimmage. Put some more up there. So it's just been an identity for us. You know, the kids have bought into it. You know, the guy that wrote the book there, Jeremy Haymore, the Bandana Express, you know, he's kind of our mentor to Coach Dowdy and myself. And then Tyler Ferris at Bridgeport, West Virginia, Steve Williams at Giles last year. They've helped us out tremendously. You know, I was talking to Steve Wilson, maybe we should play each other. It's like, we're not ready for Daddy yet. But, you know, we're hoping to see him this year. You know, if we can get healthy and play, you know, the ball falls the right way, maybe we can go see Daddy. Hear that train whistle. Hopefully not a whole lot.
Coach, you know, it's been a special season. You never want to see it end. So is the satisfaction complete, or can we look forward to a Craig County / Alta Vista state final?
If we can get Cal, we're a different beast with Calfee. Like I said, we haven't really. He played against Nares a little bit, but it wasn't Carter Calfee. There was a couple runs where he got to the corner, and normally he would have cut and been gone, and he just couldn't do it, you know, or he'd have popped 2 of those for 70 or 80 yards, unless one of those Blazers caught him from behind, which they might have. But we'll just have to see who's healthy and who stays healthy and who doesn't get hurt. You know, we just want to get the first one first. We've never won a playoff game, so. And like I say, Bath's going to come ready for some reckoning from that first game because they don't lose to Craig County very often. I remember Jacob telling me when we were at James River that he never lost to Craig County in anything, baseball, football, basketball. So he's my buddy, but it was, you know, it's nice to win one for the kids.
Coach, last one for me.
I hope we can get 2 Friday.
There we go. Last one for me. I mean, looking at the region as a whole, I mean, it seems like the top 4 seeds in Region C are about as good as anybody else's region there. I mean, You got Giles at 1, you guys at 2, Grayson at 3, and Nara's there at 4, like you mentioned. Get your overall thoughts on the region, and then again, I mean, are you going back and watching the same game tape that you beat Bath County, or are you changing things up as much as you want to share about the game?
You know, I've got, you know, it's kind of where the game fell. We've got a couple of their games from before ours and our game film. Then we trade again, so I have like their last 5 games. So I've watched all of them 2 or 3 times, trying to find little jabs here and there to, you know, if something that we do regularly is not working, how can I modify it just a little bit? Because, you know, we're working with rockets, not rocket scientists. So, you know, we can't do too much. But, you know, I think and he's got the same thing. Yeah, he's seen the little changes we've made, and, you know, the changes with Paxton last week. And, you know, and Jake's a fantastic football coach. I mean, he's better than me. He just keeps his kids motivated, and he's, you know, he'll do, you know, it's like on our play sheet, he's run like 70 plays, different versions. A lot of them the same plays, it's just different trades and motions. So, you know, we've got a lot of eye candy to filter through to get to what, you know, where the meat and gravy are.
Coach, actually, I lied. This is the last one. What kind of crowd are you expecting or hoping for there Friday night at home?
Well, like I said, the community's been very supportive, and, you know, we had a great crowd for the Nares game, and I'm hoping for some record attendance. So.
There you go. Well, we look forward to. Or actually, Big Greg, you have any more questions? I think he's good. Yeah. All right. Well, you heard it here from Coach Jimmy Fisher, the head coach there at Craig County. Coach, we again thank you so much for coming on. I know you got a lot going on for the playoffs, and congratulations on a 9-1 regular season, and good luck to against Bath County.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for having us on. You know, I'm so appreciative of everybody who does what you do and gets to feature these kids, because, you know, they deserve it. They work so hard. All these teams, not just ours. And you know, you guys keep on doing it. We love listening to it, and we appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, have
Coach,
a great day.
I'm gonna plug one last thing in.
All right.
These 2 boys of mine work hard. These 2 boys
I
work
see
hard
that.
on the recruiting. So if it's anything, I'm terrible with AI and trying to do this stuff, but they have a heck of a board that they get out. And I'm not going to tell you we would put them in the NFL by no means, but we work hard to get them to the next level and give them an opportunity for the future to, you know, to carry on and hopefully, you know, get an education and keep playing as long as they possibly can. So anything we can do to help, let us know, please.
We'll sure do it. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.